Hello, this is the information session for radiography for those wishing to enter the program for fall 2023 admission. So make sure before you listen to this presentation that you have downloaded this packet. It's just labeled as RAD packet online. So you'll want to have that so you can make some notes and be able to go through the packet as you hear me explain it to you. Also, make sure you have downloaded the medical form and make sure that you have downloaded the radiography test document so that way you can answer the test questions as you listen to this presentation. Once you've completed those test questions, you will need to email that to Miss Elaine Seal, and her email address is inside of this radiography packet towards the back. So I'll show you where that is as I go through this presentation. So starting with the first page of this packet, you'll see just a brief description about the radiography program, and it lets you know that this is an associate's degree program, so you will be awarded an Associate of Applied Science with the concentration in radiography after you have successfully completed all 5 semesters. Program competencies are listed for you, so these are the goals the program has established that students will be able to do by the end of the 5 semesters. And finally, there's a statement in the box at the bottom of this page letting you know that the program does have the specialty accreditation for radiography programs, which also would be the accrediting body for radiation therapy and MRI programs. And it's the Joint Review Committee on Education and Radiologic Technology, and you see their website is listed there if you are curious and wanted to know more information about that organization. So that's important because they are considered to be the gold standard for imaging programs. So you need to be cautious of programs that do not have the specialty accreditation. Okay, listed next is the program sequence. So you'll see that the program itself is 5 full semesters, also includes your summer semester where we have 3 courses listed. The radiography program is on a 7-point scale, so any courses that are actually radiography courses and those have the RAD in front of them, those courses are required to be completed with a grade of 77 or greater. Courses that are your AGE classes, so those are any class that is listed that is not an RAD class, so like your ACA, your biology, your English classes, those courses will follow the college's 10-point scale. But in order to have those courses count for radiography, you must earn a grade of B or higher in those classes. Okay, your general education classes can be completed before you get into the program, but you do not have to. You can complete them while you're in the program. We just really encourage you to have them completed before you enter because it really does make things a lot easier on you when you're taking your radiography classes. Okay, the other thing to note is that if you do elect to wait and take any general education course while you're actually enrolled with your radiography courses, then each class, counting gen eds and radiography courses, must be completed in the semester they're listed. And they must be completed if it's a general education course, it must be with a grade of B or higher. If it's a radiography course, it must be with a grade of 77% or higher, or you can no longer continue to progress in the program. Radiography courses you can only complete if you're actually enrolled in the program. You complete all of the classes listed in the semester, so you can't just take one at a time here or there. You have to complete all of them. Okay, so if we go down to the spring of your 2nd semester, you'll notice that there is physics and there's also math. Okay, you do not need to complete both because we have an or statement in here. So you can take either physics or you are able to complete the math course. So really it's one dependent upon what you think you would want to do when you graduate from us. If you'd be interested in pursuing a career in radiation therapy, then you'd want to complete the Math 171 class because that is a prerequisite for radiation therapy. If you think that you'd be more interested in sonography or nuclear medicine, then physics would be a better route for you. Or if you really struggle with math, physics might be a better option. Okay, and then you'll notice, as far as clinical goes, we're pretty heavy in regards to clinical. So you'll complete clinical every semester that you're in the program. We do not do lab simulation, so you'll actually be at your clinical site imaging actual patients from the community. So you'll notice in the first semester you have a RAD 151, that's your clinical education course. However, you won't complete that course until the second 8 weeks of the semester. So for the first 8 weeks, you will only have, if you've already completed your general education classes, you'll have your patient care, a positioning class, and then a lab course. Then once you have finished your first 8 weeks and move into the second 8-week mini-semester, you'll have every radiography course. Okay. And then after your first fall semester, you'll attend clinical for the full 16 weeks for fall and spring semesters, or 8 weeks for your summer semester. Typically, the schedule runs, you'll have clinical 2 days a week for the first 3 semesters, and then it bumps up to 3 days a week for your final 2 semesters. Okay, and the other thing to note with that is your clinical placement is random. So I'll skip back here for just a moment. We do not assign students to a clinical location based off of where you live. So for instance, you live here in Asheboro, then we won't strictly send you to Randolph Hospital. So that's a requirement of our clinical, of our accrediting body. They require that we assign you to your clinical sites randomly. However, we do assure that all students have an equal or an equitable opportunity to see a variety of exams. So you will always, have an opportunity to go to one of our hospitals, our outpatient clinics, and our orthopedic centers. The college also does not provide transportation for students, so you are required to provide your own transportation to and from clinical, as well as class and lab. Okay, so here you'll see the actual program admission phases. So admission to the college is definitely open door. Admission to the radiography program is competitive, and that's because we do have limited clinical space available for students. So in order to determine the top anywhere from 16 to 20 students who would be admitted into the program, we have things broken down into separate phases. So the first phase, you need to have all of these requirements completed by June 1st, and the time would be 5 p.m. So Student Services handles our phase 1 program admissions information. So Miss Elaine Seal would be your go-to person for all things in regards to phase 1. So if you are a new student to RCC, or if you, let's say you took the spring semester off and didn't take classes, then you would need to complete a new application to the college. And if you need help with that, you can go down to our Welcome Center and check in there, and we have people who can help you do that. So once you have completed your application, you'll need to provide your high school and your college transcripts. So even if you do have a college degree, we still are required to have your high school transcripts on file. So we'll need copies of both of those. Those can be directed to the registrar. Also, go ahead and apply for financial aid. You can apply for financial aid even if you don't think that you would actually receive financial aid, because our foundation does award scholarships, and they would look at the information on your FAFSA in order to do that. And you can check in with the Office of Financial Aid if you need assistance in completing your financial aid forms. Okay, so item number 2 is you must be able to enter the program's required English and math courses without having to take the co-requisite course that goes with them. So if you are unsure if you would need to do that, you can just reach out to myself or Miss Elaine Seal, and we can let you know where you stand with that. Item number 3 is completion of the TEAS test. So the TEAS test, we don't have a cut score, and you can take the test more than one time. If you don't like your score, you just have to make sure that you have all attempts in by the June 1st at 5 p.m. deadline. So you'll go to atitesting.com, and that is where you'll register, you'll create an account, and you'll register and pay for the exam. You can select RCC as your testing site, but you do not have to. However, if you would like to take your TEAS exam somewhere other than RCC, you'll need to call the facility you wish to take the test at and make sure that they will release your scores. And then go ahead and call RCC to make sure we accept scores from that particular institution. When you register for the TEAS exam, make sure you select the nursing TEAS test, okay, because there's two. There's nursing and there's allied health. So we just ask that you go ahead and you take, squeeze it all in there, take the nursing test, okay? Item number 4 is a 2.5 GPA is required. So that's throughout the duration of the admissions process. So if you take summer classes and that causes your GPA to drop down below a 2.5, then you would no longer be eligible for a seat in the program. So you want to be careful of that. And then item number 6 is submit documentation required for the ranking sheet to a student services counselor. So this particular documentation would be if you have healthcare experience working directly with the public. It can be paid or it can be unpaid, but it needs to be at least part-time for 6 months or more. All you would have to do is ask your supervisor to send a statement attesting to the fact that you've worked for a period of 6 months or more directly with the public, at least part-time, on company letterhead to Ms. Elaine Seal. So you need to have items 1 through 6 all completed by June 1st at 5 p.m. So after all of the information is in, past the deadline, then student services will complete the ranking, and then emails will be sent to the top 16 to 20 students for admission. And those emails will be sent out round about the week of June 15th. The emails will only be sent to your My RCC email. So we don't send anything to your personal email address. So once you have completed an application to the college and we've got your transcripts and your information is processed, you'll be issued a My RCC account, which includes email. It's how you get into Moodle and the other resources of the college. So make sure that you are constantly checking your email the week of June 15th. You don't have a lot of storage space in your email, so please make sure that you're keeping your email cleaned out. So we do not reissue emails if your email is bounced back to us. So please make sure that you respond within 7 calendar days. So that does count Saturday and Sunday, okay? And just make sure you either respond that yes, you would like your seat, or that no, you do not want your seat, because we always have a waiting list, and we would like to be able to offer another student an opportunity in the program if you decide that you don't want to come on in. Okay, so after you get through phase 1, we move on to phase 2. So phase 2 is all about our immunization requirements and medical forms. So these are the items that are required of us by our clinical affiliates. So these items are required so that way you can gain access to your clinical sites. So it's not information that's actually required by the college. So the first item we have listed here, oh, I'm sorry, should make sure you understand the deadline. So our phase 2 admissions deadline is actually going to be July 12th, but this one is at noon. Okay. Okay. At noon. All right. So by July 12th at noon, you need to have all of the items underneath phase 2 completed. Okay, so it is important to note that some immunizations, if you don't have any of them, can take 6 months at least, or even longer in some cases, to complete. So it's definitely a good idea to go ahead and start collecting your immunization information so you can see what you need, and that way you can have everything complete by the July 12th deadline. The other thing to note about July is, clearly that's over the summer, and traditionally the college has not held classes the week of July 4th. So that means program faculty will not be on campus to look over your paperwork the week of July 4th. So that's the week before the phase 2 deadline. So you're going to want to keep that in mind, that you would need your best course of action would be to have all of this information completed prior to July 4th week. So that way, if there's something that you are missing or there's any issues with your immunizations or your paperwork, you would have time to get those fixed prior to the July 12th deadline. Okay, so I will go through the immunizations that are required a little bit later on in the packet, because we have a nice detailed document that will explain all of that. Okay, so the other piece to note is that there are no extensions granted for phase 2. So failure to complete any aspect of phase 2 would result in you forfeiting your seat in the program. So then the next item is to attend the new student radiography orientation session. So this is just to orient you to the program. Typically we hold this the third Thursday in July, but we will send an email out to you round about the time that you receive your information regarding phase 2. That will come from Miss Angela Bear to make sure you know the date, the time, and the location. And then finally, we need current CPR certification, and it must be through the American Heart Association, so just your basic BLS, but it has to come from American Heart. It's not allowed to go through anyone else, and it needs to include an actual skills test. Okay, so we can talk at readmissions, if it does come to that. So readmission to the program, if you are unsuccessful in the first 3 semesters of the program, and it's due to an academic reason, not for a behavioral reason. Students who are dismissed from the program due to behavior or unsatisfactory clinical performance are not eligible to reapply to the program. But if you are unsuccessful academically in the first 3 semesters, then you would just be required to complete the admissions process from the beginning. Okay, so you'd enter the applicant pool with everyone else. However, if you're unsuccessful in your second fall or your final spring semester, then there are some testing options available to you. And those are listed below. So after you complete a series of testing, we would determine what semester you should be placed in and place you in that semester based off of clinical availability. Okay, if there's no clinical that's available for the semester you need to be in, then we wouldn't be able to place you. And then we do have a transfer policy. The transfer policy is listed below. So that would be based off of our clinical space availability. We do not accept transfers out of state. So if you're in a radiography program in another state and would wish to transfer into ours, you would have to enter the applicant pool from the beginning and go through the admissions process. So this is something that the student must initiate and meet all the admissions requirements for the college and the program as we currently have them listed. Another item that would be required is we actually would need a letter from your program director, that is if you're in the state of North Carolina and wish to transfer. And this program, that letter needs to state that they are in good academic and good behavioral standing. So if you've been dismissed from your current radiography program for behavioral issues or unsafe clinical practice, then you would not be eligible for transfer into our program. Transfer students would also be required to complete a background check and drug screen, submit immunizations. That's required for clinical access. And then the final step would be to complete written and laboratory skills testing. So that way we can determine the actual semester that you would be eligible to be placed in. Okay, so physical and emotional health. So it is required, there's evidence that the physical and emotional health of the student be so they are able to provide safe patient care to the general public. So we are, even as students, providing care to patients in the clinical setting. We are directly involved in their patient care. So it's important that we do have the emotional capacity to be able to do that. Okay, so this page outlines the numerical ranking system. So this is used for phase 1. And this is what student services will go by to determine the top 16 to 20 students who are eligible for program admission. So the first criteria that's looked at is your GPA. So the higher your GPA, the better chances you have of actually being admitted into the program. You have to have at least a 2.5. So then the actual GPA that you have earned will be multiplied by 3. The next item is your T-score. So we don't have a cut score, and your score is good for 3 years. So the composite score, your total composite score, is converted into a decimal and then multiplied by 20. General education classes, if you have completed the math or the physics requirement, so remember you don't need both, you just need one of these classes. Then if you've completed Bio 163, then if you've completed with an A, you earn 5 points on the ranking sheet. If you've earned a B in these classes, then you'll earn 3 points on the ranking sheet. So if you completed Bio 168 and Bio 169 with a grade of B or higher, then we'll substitute that for your Bio 163 class, and then you'd be awarded points as appropriate. Finally, healthcare experience is looked at. So points are awarded for healthcare experience, but you have to work directly with patients and directly with the community. So it has to be at least part-time for a period of 6 months or more. It has to be relatively recent, so the experience must have occurred within the past 5 years. So your department supervisor needs to complete a letter on company letterhead stating the above listed bullet points and submit that to Ms. Elaine Seal by June 1st at 5 p.m. Okay, the next statement, legal limitations of licensure. So upon successful completion of the program, students are eligible to apply to take the American Registry of Radiologic Technologists certification exam. So the key phrase here is eligible to apply. So when you're in the program, you complete all of the didactic coursework that's required, and we ensure that you are able to meet the clinical requirements that are required to take the national certification exam through this organization. Okay. And they're the only organization that provides licensure for radiographers. So we use the phrase eligible to apply because as part of the application process to turn in your information for the certification exam, you are required to answer a series of ethics questions. Those include questions like, have you ever been arrested and convicted? Have you had a prior license and you lost that license? And then a background check is run on you by the ARRT. So if there's something in your background that you think may lead to being uneligible to set and take the certification exam, there is a pre-ethics review that you can complete through the ARRT. So if you have questions about that, I'd be happy to help you through that process, or you are able to contact the ARRT directly. So the next item is our technical standards. These are also included in our RAD student handbook. Our RAD student handbook is available online. So you just need to go to the Randolph Community College website, and then you can search us by looking for college majors, and it's in alphabetical order. So radiography is down at the bottom of the screen for all of those. Click on radiography and then scroll down and you'll see RAD student handbook. So download that. Read through it in its entirety because it really gives you a good overview of what the program is all about, expectations within the program, things that you're going to learn, and make sure you are comfortable with not only the technical standards, but also with all the program's policies and procedures because we strictly adhere to those. So please read through these technical standards, and there are several to make sure that you feel that you're able to meet those. So then this is a check sheet that you can use to help keep you on track. And then you'll see that Ms. Elaine Seal's email address is listed on there. So she is your go-to person for phase 1 and is also who you'll submit your healthcare experience letter to if applicable. Then next would be phase 2. So after that, all communication from phase 2 moving forward is going to come from either myself or Ms. Angela Bear. So her email address and phone number are also listed there. The best days to be able to reach her at the office are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So here is a handy sheet that gives you some information about the TEAS exam. So you are going to take the nursing TEAS, and you can see the link to register, create an account, and all of that good stuff is listed here. The college does have a course offered through continuing education that you can take to help get you prepared for the TEAS class. There is a book that comes with that class. So that's not offered through the curriculum portion of the college, but through the continuing education portion of the college. Even if you decide not to take the prep class here at the college, I do recommend that you prepare for the test in some way, because some of the items you might be tested on are things you may not have looked at for some time. So like basic math, basic English, reading comprehension. And there's different resources out there for you. Here are the rules for the test day. So I'm going to make sure that you read through these rules and you are prepared for your test. You have your ID. Hoodies are not allowed. You can't bring food or drinks into the testing center. You're not allowed to bring your own calculator or any other type of electronic device. Nothing that you have printed. If you need scratch paper, that will be given to you at the testing center. And then, of course, don't forget your picture ID, because you'll have to show that. Okay, so then this is a document that explains everything our clinical sites require of us for you to be eligible to have clinical access. So you are required to have a physical, and the medical form is the other document that you'll need to download. So when you are at the time of your physical, please take this portion of the RAD packet with you to the physician, because it strictly details everything we need. Okay, so I will go through the medical packet with you, but I'm going to read through this document first. So we'll talk about the medical packet. The physical must have occurred within the past 6 months. Okay, so remember June 1st. This is from that July 12th. I'm sorry. This is from that July 12th at noon deadline. Okay, so you're going to want to schedule your physical for some time in the spring. Your medical provider needs to fill out every single portion of that document. So even if they have a printed page that includes your immunizations, those need to be written in and filled in, and signatures on every page that's indicated. So don't leave any portion of it blank. If it's left blank, then Ms. Bayer will contact you and ask you to go back to your medical provider to have that information filled in. That also includes the hearing and the eye exams that are listed in the medical form. So we need both hearing tests and your vision, whether it's corrected or uncorrected, and color tests. So that's the requirement from our sites. Okay, then here's a little check sheet for you, just to make sure you keep yourself on track and you have everything that is required. And then, like I said, we'll go through the medical packet here after we get through these. So the next thing that you're going to need is 2 MMR vaccinations. So either 2 shots, or you can have blood work drawn to see if you have positive titer. Okay. So if you have a positive titer, you can elect to do that if you choose not to have the shots, or if you can't find record of your shots. But we need to have our titer requirements are pretty strict. So the titer must list a number. So there has to be a numeric value. Okay. Then, along with the number, we need to know what the range of immunity is. So that will tell us if the number falls into the positive or the negative range. So we can't have just the word positive. We can't have the word immune. There needs to actually be a number with the titer, along with the range of immunity. Or you can have the shots and just make sure the shots are specifically detailed. Okay, so that documentation that will be required if you have the shots is, it would have to have your name, the facility where you had the vaccination, dates received, your medical provider signature, and the actual, of course, immunization itself. So with these, if you elect to have the shots, there are 2 that are required. The second shot needs to occur 4 weeks after the first shot. Okay, so you've got about a month time frame there, right? So if you wait too close to that July 12th deadline to collect your immunizations and see that you need both of these shots, then that could put you past the deadline. Okay. Item number 3 are 2 varicella vaccinations or the positive titer. So once again, you can either have both the shots or you can have a titer drawn. Just remember, we need a numerical result. We need the range of immunity. Okay. If you do not have a positive titer, and that's for any option where you are able to have the titer drawn, then you're going to have to show proof of the shots. So with the varicella shot, you have one, you have to wait at least 4 weeks, and then you're able to have the second shot. So Dose Tdap is next. So this shot is good for 10 years, but it should not be confused with the tetanus booster. So not the tetanus booster. It actually has to be the full Tdap, and it's going to include immunization to all of these. Okay, so we just need the date of the shot, of course, the physician's signature, and all of that. So all the same documentation that's listed above for the other shots. Item number 5 is a Hep B vaccination series or positive titer. So you either need to have a series of 3 shots. Those 3 shots, if you don't have any, can take 6 months or more to complete. Or you can have a titer drawn. Titer is the same requirements as listed above for varicella and MMR. If you do not have a positive titer, then you'll need to have the series of shots. So you have a couple of options for the TB skin test. So you can either have 2 TB skin tests. So that's where you go to the doctor or have an office visit. They give you a little shot under your skin in your forearm, and then you got to come back in a couple of days and they check it. That's 1 total test. You need to repeat that process at least a week apart. Okay, so that's 1. The second option is a quant gold test. So this is one that's actually preferred. So this is just a blood test. You do it once. Okay. The next option would be if you've had a positive skin test, then you need a chest x-ray. So you'd have a chest x-ray. So we need not only for you to have the x-ray, but we actually need the physician's documentation from the chest x-ray. The next item on here is COVID vaccination. So at this time, we are required to have the COVID vaccination. If you have questions about that process, then please reach out to me and I can talk with you about that. We also are required later on to have the flu shot. So that would not occur until well into the fall when they are available, actually after you've had, after you've been admitted into the program. But that's just something else that you should be aware of. Item number 8 is American Heart Association BLS certification. So it must be from the American Heart Association. I do understand that e-cards are favored now, so just make sure that your e-card is printed out and given to Ms. Bear. And then finally, you'll be directed to complete a background check and a drug screen. So, oops, we have the wrong date listed on there. Don't ignore that. For the new student orientation, apologizing for not having that updated for you. But your background check and drug screen will actually be completed before your new student orientation. If you are an alternate, you don't need to complete that process unless you've actually been offered a seat. But if you have been offered a seat, you need to complete this during the time that you're completing your immunizations and your medical form. So Ms. Bear will provide you with the form, and she'll provide you with directions for how to complete the background check and the drug screen. So this, of course, is at the student's expense, and the range of how much it's going to cost really just depends on how many places you've lived, if you changed your name or not, that those items make the cost go up. Your background check and drug screen is never seen by program faculty. It goes directly from the organization that conducts the background check and drug screen and then directly to the clinical affiliate. So it's nothing that's ever seen by anybody in the program. And it should also be noted that if you are denied clinical access due to something that's in your background check or your drug screen, then you would forfeit your seat in the program. Okay, so we definitely suggest that you complete all of the requirements for phase 2 as early as you can, and you're definitely more than welcome to come and ask us questions to see if you have what you need prior to the deadline. So then the next item that we're going to share is the medical form. We'll just go through this. So make sure if you have, after you've submitted the medical form, if you do have any changes after the fact, that you notify the radiography program, and it needs to be in writing. An email is sufficient if there's been any change. Okay. So make sure that you read through all the information here. We need an actual signature from the physician and a clinical stamp where indicated. Okay, so after you've read through, please take the opportunity to ask questions if you have them, and then make sure you print, sign, and date this page. Okay, next is your personal information. So make sure that you fill out the whole top portion with your name, last four of your social, your address, your date of birth, and then when you get down to the health insurance section, if you do not have health insurance, actually write the word none. Do not leave it blank because Ms. Bear will contact you and ask you to come back and write the word none in there. Okay, so you want to make sure you do that. The person to contact in case of an emergency, it must be someone related to you. It can't be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It has to be husband, wife, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, someone who's actually related to you. So moving on to the next, you'll notice that at the top, you're going to need to put your name, date of birth, and all of that info in again. Okay, so make sure that's filled out. Then read down here, let us know if you've had any kind of adverse reaction to what's listed below. Just check yes or no. If it's a yes, give us a brief response. And then the items listed next, make sure you check yes or no. Give us a brief explanation. Okay, then once again, the top form, you're going to want to fill out your name, birthday, all of that. And then you're going to sign and date. Okay, so here we go again. Put your name and birth date, all of that at the top. This is the outline of your medical information. So this outlines everything that we have listed on our explanation of phase 2 document that we just covered. So take that along with this form to have all the information filled in and make sure you have what you need. Okay, next page. Information needs to be filled in by the physician, name, date of birth at the top by you, and then you'll notice here the health provider stamp needs to be included on this page. And then on the next page, it just continues. You have to put your name and date of birth at the top, then they fill in the boxes. A flu vaccine is required, but you don't have to have that turned in until usually end of September, beginning of October. So at this portion of the document is where the physician is going to need to actually sign their name. They'll sign their name, they'll print their name, fill out their facilities, office address, all of that good stuff, and then they'll stamp again. Okay, so then almost done here. Go ahead and print your name, date of birth at the top. They'll do your height, they'll do your weight, blood pressure, all that good stuff. Here is a commonly missed section. We definitely need both hearing tests. So if they say, no, we don't think you need that, you're like, yes, I definitely need that and insist. We need all of that. Vision, color correction, and corrected and uncorrected, if that applies to you for corrected. If there's any abnormalities, the boxes need to be checked, a brief description, or if the description doesn't fit in the box, then a sheet attached is appropriate. And then once again, the physician is going to sign their name, print their name, office address, fill all of that out, and then provide their practice stamp here. Okay, so that is the completion of the medical packet. So that's a lot of information. Make sure you have everything downloaded and filled in and completed. Don't forget to complete your questionnaire, the information session test, and please email the completed test to Miss Elaine Seal. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself, Anna Phillips, or to Miss Elaine Seal. Thank you and have a good day.